People move into West Hartford, Connecticut all the time. But here's what's interesting. Once they get here, a lot of them never leave. Even when they have strong opportunities to, they still stay. Today I'm going to go over 5 reasons why once people get here, they do not leave West Hartford, Connecticut. If you have any questions at all as we get into these topics, don't be shy. My team and I, we get questions all the time from people who watch these videos. We're always happy to help. It doesn't matter how big or small the question might be. So let's dive right into it. The first thing I wrote down is the lifestyle is hard to replace. Whether it's the restaurants, the center of town, the reservoir, the walking trails that make you feel like you're so far away, but yet you're still here. A lot of those things are really hard to replace. You just can't up and move to a new town and have that convenience, that choice of lifestyle depending on your day, anywhere. There's very few parts of the country that offer that type of flexibility and convenience. The second thing I wrote down, we have really strong school systems. According to niche.com, a lot of the school system raters, West Hartford schools are always, up there towards the top. As someone who is bringing their kids through the school system, what I've noticed is, the teachers, the staff, the administration, they really care. They keep a tight-knit community. That's something that's really hard to just up and leave and start over. Once you begin that process and build those relationships, leaving becomes a challenge, for a good reason. The third thing I wrote down, it is centrally located, and not just even in the state, but if we're looking at the Northeast in general, it's almost right smack dab in the middle of Connecticut. So whether you're commuting to Fairfield County or up to Mass, we see people that live here that go in all directions, and this is where they call home. But not only just in Connecticut, if we're looking at the Northeast, we're a couple hours away from beautiful beaches. There's beautiful Rhode Island, Massachusetts beaches. We have Connecticut beaches that are even closer, about an hour away if you want to get there. But you can get to beaches, you can get to mountains and skiing. Yes, we have that here, but you also go up to New Hampshire, Vermont, Maine, and there's beautiful mountains and skiing if that is the type of thing you like to do. If you are need to get to New York, to Boston for various reasons, that's where you enjoy or that's where you work, we're about 2 hours away from both. We're right smack dab in the middle there. If you want to go to even some southern beaches, going down to New Jersey where the waves are a little bit bigger, you're 3-4 hours from some of those places. So you can get in a car and do a lot from West Hartford, Connecticut. So that convenience is something that a lot of people, don't like just, give up overnight. When they're here, they want to stay. The fourth thing I wrote down is the home values have really proven to be resilient over time. Yes, in the years after COVID, the prices skyrocketed like everywhere else. But even if you go back in history and you looked at some of the tougher markets, where home values really went down in some other areas, West Hartford, they may correct, they may go down a little, but they don't have these crashes that some other places see, because this is, traditionally speaking, a very desirable town for a lot of reasons we're mentioning here. People want to live here, so you're not as subject to the ups and downs of the market. It is a more stable market that over time appreciates really well. And the last thing I wrote down is just the community pride. All of the events that go on here, the neighborhood associations, the things that maybe aren't public, but that happen within the neighborhood. There's so many little neighborhoods in West Hartford. There's over 64,000 people that live here, and a lot of these neighborhoods on their own, they create these little mini associations that you don't have to be a part of it, you don't have to join, but it promotes community involvement. It promotes getting together and learning about your neighbor and seeing how you can help and having some fun activities with them. So when you're doing all those things constantly and you're participating, you create relationships that make you want to stay, even when there's other opportunities in life. So we have people here that commute all over the Northeast for work, that just don't want to leave, even when maybe it's a benefit in another part of life. They don't want to give up what they have here, because it can be hard to get back in, especially if you have a home you love. If you know you want to be here, it can be hard to just pick up and find another home you love, because the inventory does stay on the lower side. We have people here that maybe the house is too big for them, but they're happy to stay because there's no better alternative, and they're not going to leave. They're not going to leave the town. So a lot of folks, when they get here, they stay. These are some of the top reasons why. Listen, don't get me wrong. The town is not perfect. There are definitely cons. Drop a comment below if you want me to send you the pros and cons video, or just a straight up cons video. I like to show all sides of West Hartford, both the good and the bad, from just what I've hearing people say, and someone who's lived here personally, who does live here personally. So if you want to see the cons video, I'll send that over. Drop a comment below. Hope this was helpful. And again, don't be shy. We get calls, texts, emails all the time from people that watch these videos.